Situation number 3. This is where you're shooting at f2.8 or lower, and this is what I call low light photography. You can use the CLX-8, the CLX-10, the Stella 2000, even the Stella 1000. You're looking to use a light of around 2000 lumens. So let's go into the low light technique that I use. One, anytime the sun goes below the horizon, you can go straight into low light photography and definitely use a video light. So whenever I see that sun go right below the horizon and I'm shooting at night, I'm bam, right on video light. Video light is much easier to use than flash. I like to use an f1.8 or faster lens, meaning 1.8 or lower. 1.4, 1.2. This allows you to let a lot of light into your camera, and it also allows you to create a shallow depth of field. And that's going to be important. I'm going to show you a little bit later why you want to do that. Here's your technique. Meter or set your exposure for your background, meaning however you want your background, whatever's behind your subject, how you want it to look in your final shot, set your exposure to whatever that is. It can be different. There's no exact right or wrong. It's your personal taste on how bright or dark you want your background exposure. But set it to your taste first. Then what you want to do is diffuse your light. You want a very large light source. So I like shooting through an umbrella or a softbox. Now you want that umbrella at least 33 inches or the softbox should be at least 33 inches to get you that soft light that really has a nice quality to it. Place your light as close as possible to your subject. The closer the light is to your subject, the larger it is and the softer the light that's going to be on your subject, and that's going to produce high quality portraits. Choose a background with lights or a colorful sunset. What really makes low photography work is if you're shooting some sort of lights in the background, whatever they are. They could be street lights, they could be headlights from cars, they could be a beautiful sunset. The more lights, the better the shot. If there are no lights in the background, you could use other lights to create that. And often I'll use colored gels and I'll put them on flashes to create colored light on my background, or I'll use my external lights to shine light back into my lens so I can have some backlight. You can be creative in the way you're using lights in the background, and it's easy to do because you're shooting in low light. And so whether you're going to look for lights in the background or create your own, again, the more lights that you use, the better the photo. And that's why you want to use a low f-stop, because you want to blur out those lights and make them as large as possible. And that's using probably a 50mm lens or longer, getting as close as you can to your subjects, and those lights behind your subject will really just get big and beautiful. And that's the perfect effect that you want shooting low light portraiture. Let's show this next example where I'm using a small Stella 1000 light and I'm putting it through a little pop-up diffuser that's not 30 inches, but it's actually only about 16 inches. Now, why did this work? You just told me, Scott, you should use at least 33 inches. Well, if you put that light really close to your subject, you can get away with a smaller light source. This is literally about maybe 1.5 feet from my subject. So I'm putting it super close to give me that soft light. How did I set this up? I'm setting my background first because you can see those little pineapple lights in the background. I didn't want to overexpose those. So I set my background first, my subject is dark, and then I just, usually if it's a low lumens light like 1000 lumens or 2000 lumens, in this case, I'm using a 1000 lumen light. I'm turning up at full power. It's shining through my little diffuser and I'm putting it as close as possible to my subject to give me that soft, beautiful light. Now, I control the light on my subject. If it happens to be a bit bright, a lot of times I adjust my light by distance. As long as I'm within a foot or so, it won't affect the quality of light on my subject. And it's a lot easier because when I have assistants holding my light, to have them reach up and control the light, sometimes you hit the wrong button or they're not familiar with your light, it's going to take a long time. So generally, I set my light at full. If it's too strong, I just pull that light back a few inches to get me the desired lighting exposure I want on my subject. So my exposure is controlled by distance, not necessarily readjusting my light. Let's go to our next photo, and this is a real wedding I shot in Temecula, California at a winery. Now, living in California, you can get some amazing sunsets at times. I don't know why they're so amazing. Maybe it's the mixture between the clouds and the smog that make it so diffused. But anyways, we get some great sunsets. And when I saw this sunset, I said, listen, we need to take this picture. So what did I do? I set my background exposure first because what's one of the most important things of this photo is the sunset. So if you don't expose that correctly, you don't really got a shot. So I set my camera so those clouds and that sunset looks amazing. Because the light is behind my subject is now dark. I have to illuminate them with my Stella light and I shine it on them and I set the exposure according to what I need. Typically, I set the light on full. Well, in this case, I think, I set my light on full here. I put an umbrella through it. I just move that light as close as I need it to get me the exposure that I want. If the light is too strong, I move it back a little bit. If it's not strong enough, I move it forward. I don't make it complicated. I change the exposure on my subject by distance from my light source. That's the easiest way to do it. And to line up the perfect exposure you want is just to move that light back and forth. There's no buttons to choose. There's no wrong button to hit. And any assistant that you can definitely do that. So you can see that I'm using the Stella CLX8. It's equivalent to 2.8 f-stop. I'm at 1.4 1,000th of a second at ISO 250. Now let's go into a night scene. I like this photo. It looks pretty cool, but nobody realizes I'm shooting down a city street. And those lights that you see are car lights, stop lights, store lights, and then it's a mixture of them. I did not add those lights in post. That is in camera, those lights. But it's just a typical street scene. And I'm using a little bit longer lens. I'm using an 85mm lens. I'm shooting it at 1.8. I'm setting my background exposure first and then adding my constant video light through an umbrella to give me that nice lighting. How can you tell that this is big light? Well, look at the transition of shadow between highlight and shadow. That transition is very smooth. And so when you see that smooth transition of shadow to highlight, you are using a big light source. You can also see that light in the catch lights in her eyes, and you can see that that light was camera right. Here's another shot that I took on a cruise ship. They happened to have a bar that had all this neon lights in it. I go, what a cool place to shoot. And so what do? I go in there, it's real dark because it's a bar and it's at nighttime, and I expose for the neon signs. I get those signs looking the way I want them to. And so I set that perfect exposure. I have my subject stand in front of that neon sign, and they are dark because it's dark in there. There's no light on my subject. What do? I bring in my video light. I think I was using a Stella 2000 here. Put it on full power, shine it through an umbrella, and then light my subject. I adjust my exposure on my subject by distance. Usually when I have a 2000 lumen light shooting in this situation, I typically have it on full, shooting through the umbrella, and it's about 3 to 4 feet away from my subject.